Hey guys, welcome back to the Lit Mag Lab podcast. I'm Vevna Forrow, yeah. So previously on the podcast, I was showing you around Dippity Lit Mag. Now that was a literary magazine I founded back in September of 2022. So if you're curious what Dippy's about, check it out. Take a look back at that video. I was just giving you a quick tour around it. I mean, it wasn't quick. It was about 30-ish minutes, and I mentioned this in the notes of the episode. I had some technical difficulties on that one. Some of my audio cut out and jumped. I don't know if you can notice that, but I did my best to piece that together. So wasn't as smooth an episode as I would have liked, but I did what I could. So yeah, at Dipty, I mentioned this on the past episode, right? We sort of had, I guess, like a weird vibe. Some have said, or when we started, we sort of had a lot of like, I guess you could say, cowabunga vibes and like aloha palm trees and all of that. I think in part because a lot of the photography I had to work with, from Candace, on our volunteer staff, she contributed to past issues, our legacy series, right? And yeah, so a lot of those photos were like from Hawaii, and I'm around palm trees too, I guess, in Nevada, so sort of fits. And then yeah. So overall, I would say, I personally really think about, for some reason, it keeps coming in my mind, the Rocket Power TV show. I don't know how many guys are into animated shows, but when I was a kid, I used to watch them all the time, right? Absolutely loved cartooning and drawing. But Rocket Power was a series that was back in 1999. It lasted for about 4 seasons. And I used to watch it, I think it was on Nickelodeon. Yeah. Anyways, it's definitely was one of my favorite TV series, animated wise. I think, they had skateboarding, bicycling, rollerblading, surfing. Obviously, I can't skateboard and snowboard and all that stuff, but I just thought the characters were a lot of fun and it was so chill, and stuff like that. It was a pretty interesting animated series. And I feel like, guys, they totally should make, right, a series or a TV show or movie one day about literary magazines, right? Is there a movie out there? I don't know. Anyways, I'm sure there's like movies and films about like, others running magazines and stuff like that, and publications and things like that. But I think it'd be cool for like a lit mag movie, right? Or a lit mag TV series. That'd be so cool, right? What would they call it, guys? I don't know. Anyways, back to the series. So I'm doing yeah, so you can see, you may be checking out the video here, if it depends where you're listening from or watching. But Rattle, so yeah, today we're going to cover Rattle. Now I want to take the time to go over a couple, you could say, fairly well-known literary magazines in the community. And yeah, Rattle is definitely one of them, I would say. Also, check this out. Chill Subs has a list most competitive poetry only literary magazines of all time. If we scroll down here, there's Rattle number 9, and you can see there's other ones. I'm not going to go through every single one on the list. Maybe I will. I'm just joking, but I'll go through a couple of them. Just talk through my thoughts on their site. A little bit about them. Yeah. So it helps to just share and give my thoughts on that. So yeah. So this was last updated, by the way, August 1st, 2025. It's a Chill Subs list. Listen back, if you're not sure what Chill Subs is, I have an episode again covering it. So let's go back here. So, Rattle Magazine has been around since 1995, guys. I think on Wikipedia it says, I'll go over here and show you, 1994, but I believe it's 1995 because I saw that in more than one place. So Rattle has been around since, as long as I've been alive thus far. So yeah, I'm 30 years old. So, I was born in 1995, and that's amazing. I don't know off the top of my head. I can't name like 30 magazines in the lit mag world that have been around that long. Mostly I know a couple, ones that are from university based, and a few other ones, that I've mentioned on the podcast. So it is really hard for a magazine, especially focusing on poetry, to be that long standing. It's really cool that they've been around that long. And yeah, they do a lot of, I would say, Rattle does a lot of great work, in terms of publication. And they have a couple different, spotlight series that they do, which I'll cover in this episode. Real quick, I want to just show you, if you can see here, right, on screen. So summer 2010, look at this. This is an issue from 15 years ago, guys. I think that's interesting. Look how much the issues have evolved. I really like seeing that. You can totally tell. So yeah, I don't know when this was last updated, their Wikipedia page, but anyways, still cool. It mentions here off of Wikipedia, I'm quoting it, right? Rattle receives around 250,000 poetry submissions a year. And yeah, I don't know if that's accurate or not, but I do know Rattle gets a ton of submissions, that's for sure. So yeah, so you can see Rattle back on Chill Subs here. They've been bookmarked quite a few times, and yeah, so it says their vibe is very fancy, very impressive, very not fast. Response time looks like it's 180 days after submission, averaging about 109 days reported from those who use Chill Subs to the tracker in there. The acceptance rate is 1%, guys. 1%. Oh gosh. And yeah, the chill subs tracker stats sort of mirror that. So you can see that is pretty, that's tight, guys. It's hard. It's hard to get an acceptance with Rattle. Believe me, I've tried too myself. I've participated in a couple events, which I'll share as I go through them later. But yeah, you can see they have some open calls right now. It says always open. They're pretty much open, throughout most of the time in the year that I've stopped by. And yeah, so again, I may have not shown this on the Chill Subs episode, but you can click on these open entries and you can see, right, how much they pay and everything. 100 per piece. On general open, it says 200 per piece, on, yeah. So yeah, they have Rattlecast prompt poems and art. And yeah, so Rattle is able to pay writers for their work, and it looks like also artist as well, it appears. So yeah, I'm just gonna read their, as I usually do, their about section and just quote off of it from Chill Subs. So it says here from Rattle: we feel that poetry lost its way in the 20th century to the point that mainstream readers have forgotten how moving language alone can be. As a result, most people learn to find their feelings in music, movies, and novels, while poetry languishes on its lone shelf in the bookstores, waiting only for the occasional cameo at a university workshop. But it shouldn't take a scholar to be moved by the written word. Great literature has something to offer everyone. All our lives are compelling, full of joys and burdens and profound experiences we should be sharing, and poetry is the most intimate way to share it. When you read a poem, you become the medium. The poet speaks in your voice, paints the canvas of your inner eye. This connection is more direct than any other, and it doesn't take a Hollywood budget to do it. Read the poems on rattle.com for free. So I like that, how they worded it. However, I will say, it may not take a Hollywood budget, it may not take millions of dollars, but it does take some sort of budget, absolutely, to keep your magazine and literary magazine and journal up and running, for a very long time, decades even. You got to have some budget to work with, totally, but nothing in the, Hollywood budget range or anything. So totally. But yeah, I like how they worded that, and you can see here some of the calls that closed in the past. I think they had food poems. Oh my gosh, guys, I missed the food poems call. Gosh darn, I'm so sad, guys. If you don't know me, I like food poems, guys. I was sort of into a food poem phase for a while in, like, I think was it 2022 or 2021, somewhere between there. Anyways, I've got to get back to my food poetry, guys. There are some lit magazine journals that do food poetry, by the way. I have to find them for you guys. Note to self. So yeah, so you can see here they accept simultaneous submissions. You can submit to your work to multiple magazines at the same time. Again, you just have to let them know if it's been accepted elsewhere. So they do, it says nominate surprises: best American, best new poets, best of the net, spiritual literature, and pushcart. I'm not familiar with all of those, but I will check out again ones I'm not too familiar with. So yeah, they have some other notes here, about first rights and things like that. I think it's amazing that they're able to pay, $200 per poem and in print, and then online contributors receive $100 per poem. So yeah, I love that, they really have a wide array of ways that they share work, of poets. And yeah, so they have some other stats here, submission grinder and tracker stats as usual. So yeah, that's about it. I'm gonna head over to, and you can see number 85, what that looks like. So I'm not sure what issue they're on right now. I haven't stopped by their website in a bit. This is the first time today I'm stopping back by their website in quite some time. So let's head over. Yeah, let's take a look at Rattle Poetry's website. So this is it. Yeah, they've gone undergone a website update. It looks like too. We have as well, as I mentioned. I did the best I could with our design, but yeah, Rattle. I really love this design, the new look they have. If you haven't been on their site before, then maybe it's not. It's not like, oh my gosh. But I personally really love looking at website design. I think it's a huge part of like the experience, for publications, whether they be solely in print or online or both. A good site design is really important that others can easily read things, find it, search, and all of that. So yeah, you can see they have this new thing. I think this is new. I've never seen it before. Um, so you can do a random poem. I really like that. That's pretty cool. A random poem, right? And then you can click again. So you can just keep getting like a random poem. I think that's really nice. You can circle back to 2018. That's really neat, right? It just like gives you a new poem. Now, I had something like this on my pen name site, not in terms of poetry, but it would sort of randomize a photograph, and it would sort of be like a prompt challenge. On It was on my pen name site. I don't have that anymore, but yeah, I think that's a really neat setup on their site. I love that, the randomizer of poems they've published in the past. And it looks like they have a new thing here on the right hand side. You can see rattles, 26 rattles on this one. I love that. So it even ties into their name, right? Very cool. Yeah, so let's just scroll down here a little bit. So, you can sign up for a daily poem. They do daily poems to others' inbox. They have, the Rattle Foundation, right? The Rattle, the Art, Poets Respond, all of that. They've registered their trademarks. I did an episode on trademark registration, a little bit talking about that. So if you're curious what my thoughts on that, totally listen back to that episode in the audio series portion of this podcast. So yeah, I think their site design is really cool. I think it was done by Brunch, and it's really, I must say, a beautiful site design, very clean and easy to navigate. There's a subscribe option here, a search function. You can filter by poems, authors, issues, books, and other. Let's just test it out. I'm going to type, what should I do, guys? Pizza? Let's see if there's anything pizza related. I don't know. I'm in a food mood today, guys. Let's see if there's anything pizza. A poem in which I binge. Yeah. So there's some interesting ones in here. I'm gonna read those later, but yeah. So cool search function they have there now, and issues and books. So this is what I really like seeing. They have numerical order of issues in their drop down. You can see they are on. It looks like summer 2025 is number 88. That's really cool. Yeah. So yeah, since 1995, I think that's really amazing what they've done. They also do chapbook publications. Let's go out to one of these. Let's do No Matter How It Ends, a Bluebird song. Let's see what that looks like. So yeah, that's really lovely. They have, it says here, variety of contemporary English language haiku structures and styles. Yeah. So I've never picked up one of their chapbooks, but yeah, I might one day. I've gotten some of their issues through, submitting to them, right? The subscription and stuff. So yeah, let's go out to here. So you can see Rattle has, various features that they do, and I love the diversity that they do in their challenges. Different ones. So they have critique of the week, ekphrastic challenge, prompt lines, poets respond. They also have their Rattlecast, which is this basically. I'll go out here. So they have, on their YouTube channel, this Rattlecast. They have, conversations with poets, and there's also this thing they do, with critique of the week, right? They basically dissect the poem, and yeah, so I'm gonna go out and show you. Let's go out to critique of the week. So I like it. It's a live video workshop. It is absolutely, as they say here, it's hard to find honest feedback about your work. So I think that's cool, how they, hear Rattle editors, offer suggestions, improvement, and they're being brutally honest. One time I sat in on one of their Twitter session things that they had. I remember like I popped in briefly, and I sat in and just to listen, and it was interesting for sure. I can't remember all the details of that one, but I just remember it was like, oh, that's really cool. So yeah, They have the ekphrastic challenge. I've actually entered this in the past. So it's really cool. I think art inspiring poetry, but poetry in a sense is artistic, right? It's art, a form of art and expression. So art inspiring art, right? That whole cycle, as I mentioned again, that's really cool. I love that, others see a piece of artwork, right? They write a poem around it, enter in the challenge. That's really beautiful. Yeah. And yeah. So the prompt lines, I don't remember what that is. Prompt poems of the month. So it looks like at the end, it says here, I'm quoting off their website, at the end of every Rattlecast episode, they encourage folks to write new poems for next week's open lines. At the end of every episode, Timothy Green announces the next week's prompt. And then, yeah. So, yeah, I think it's interesting, prompt of the month. I haven't looked at this at all, but yeah, I think that's pretty cool. The prompts they have and stuff. And yeah, so July 6th, for example, says, write a new rondeau. Is it rondeau? I may be mispronouncing that. Rondaau. That features an unusual noun that begins with the same letter of your first name. So yeah, some tough challenges there, right? Totally. I think that's pretty interesting. And yeah, I mentioned the Rattlecast, right? So the live streaming poetry reading and podcast. Totally check that out sometime. I'm not going to go through every single thing that they have, but some of it to showcase you guys just a little bit a tour of their site. So yeah, that was their workshop program. Now some lit magazine journals have um, you know workshops and classes. Free copies for free classes. So yeah, it looks like it applies. You can see that it says here they I'm going to quote this, provide a way for teachers to collectively submit work on behalf of their students. So I think that's really cool. And yeah, so I haven't read a lot about this. This is new to me. Their workshops, I'm not sure how long this is ongoing, has been ongoing, but it says teachers may either keep the copies for future workshops or let participants keep them. In yeah, so yeah, so it looks like they are, working with teachers really to show a little bit about the Lit Mag world in a sense, right? Rattle magazine and poetry, right? They set aside a few hundred copies of everything they print to give as a free class. Sets to teachers, workshop leaders, and reading groups. It says. I think that's really nice. Spreading poetry that way, as it states here. Yeah. So let me go to prizes and awards. So, if you're listening to this and you're familiar with Rattle, then you're probably aware of their annual, I believe, Rattle Poetry Prize. Now, I've entered that totally in the past myself. They also have a Rattle Chapbook Prize, and yeah. So, I think that's they have a pretty huge contest. They're known for that. The chapbook one says we're going to give a few poets something special. Every year, three winners will receive $5,000, 500 copies. Distribution to Rattle's 8,000 plus subscribers. I think it said somewhere 9,500. But yeah, so that's really cool. Yeah. And then they have the Postman Award for Metaphor. Now, I'm not too familiar with this, but of course, you can read more about their other awards and things like that. Let me go back here to just quickly the Rattle Prize, right? So, the 2025 Rattle Prize, I think the deadline has passed. Yeah, July 15th was the deadline for this year. Now, I've entered this myself in the past. I think it was $20 for me when I entered. Obviously, I haven't won or been published with Rattle myself or anything like that. But I just wanted to see, it's fun to enter things and to partake and see how, you know, the responses you get from lit magazine journals on your work and stuff. I've totally entered the ekphrastic challenge that they have. I've also entered the Poets Respond challenge as well in the past. I think that whole thing on focusing on current events, as a prompt too, is really cool as well. So yeah. Now the 2025 Rattle Poetry Prize for this year, the deadline passed, but just sharing about it. So they're offering $15,000 for a single poem to be published in their winter issue. They're gonna choose 10 finalists to receive also $500 each in publication and be eligible for the Readers Choice Award to be selected by subscriber and entrant vote. Additional poems from entries are offered publication as well. It says they published 19 poems that have been submitted to the contest from over 3,000 entries, so it's really tough, yeah. And yeah, so it says past winners have included a retired teacher, a lawyer, and several students. It says it's fair, friendly, and you win a print subscription to Rattle even if you don't win. So yeah, I got a subscription through that. Some of the entries I've done through Rattle, and yeah. So that's basically it. They have past winners up here and results. So it looks like it's been ongoing since about 2006 and to present. So that's really cool. Um, you know, um, a lot of lit magazine journals, they have like an entry fee, right? I don't know what it was for this. I know in the past I had paid $20 or something for a contest or something, and I don't know if it's like increased to $30 or it was 25 or 30. I don't remember. I apologize. But any case, there are a lot of places that do large cash awards like this, and they use the entry, whether it be a subscription, amount, you get subscribed and entry into the contest, right? And you submit your work, right? And then it gets reviewed. So a lot of places use that entry, the entry fees, right, to get to that, large number. They award the cash amount, right, from all of the entries they've collected. They use that to pull in for the award amount. That's a way to fund contests for lit magazine journals to have an entry fee. Obviously, Rattle doesn't have, fees on every single thing that, at all. Um, if we go back to chill subs here, you can see, it says pays, right? There's no red fee. So, their one thing is, that contest that has an entry fee. There may be other ones. I'm not sure about their other prizes and awards about those entry fees, but they do have this one. And the others, there's no fee to enter and stuff. So they process a lot of poetry submissions every single year. And I think it's really amazing the work that they've done thus far, yeah. So I just want to go into, they have their mission and info here, their masthead contact. Everything's very easy to find. You can see the editor in chief, Alan Fox, founded Rattle in 1995 as a handmade clash chat book. That's really cool initially. And the editor, right, Timothy Green, has been the editor of Rattle since 2004. So he hosts the Rattle cast, it says here, Critique of the Week, and co-hosts the Poetry Space. So that's really cool. And then they have associate editors, proofreading assistants, and yeah. So they have done a lot, absolutely, and they have tribute calls. It looks like as well. So I think that's really lovely. What they do. And I know, there's some comments I've read online about Rattle, and I'm sure you'll come across them too. Every poet looks up, what others think about a lit mag journal. Is it legit? Are they scamming me? Why is there an entry fee for this large contest? But Rattle is legit. They do, I believe, I would say they do a great job. Absolutely. They have an extensive amount of categories and calls, and I love the focuses they do. Specifically, I'm a huge fan of Poets Respond and the Ekphrastic Challenge, and I think the critique of the week is very cool. They're doing a lot daily and weekly. Publication wise, it is quite extensive and very just really phenomenal. So I've seen some comments online stating, oh well, you know, um, oh well, they're publishing political work, or it's like, it's not super contemporary or abstract. But I would have to disagree with you. I feel like they do publish a wide, or anyone, and I'm mostly focusing on the site design and things I like about Lit Journal. But I would have to say I think Rattle does a great job of publishing a wide array of poets, and yeah. So I really like the site updates that they've done. I must say thus far, the new look looks really cool. So must say a really, really nice work here. They also have audio. You can hear poets and their voices. And yeah, so yeah, check out Rattle. Let's click into the most recent issue, Summer '88. So you can see it's like $9.95. So yeah, pick up a copy of Rattle. Maybe get a subscription. Food poems. I might have to get this issue, guys. It has food poetry. I mean, food poems, guys. That's I did spaghetti poetry, guys. I did, I've done all kinds of You're reminding me. This is reminding me of my food poetry. I've got to find one that another lit mag or journal that does has done food poetry. There is one I came across. I can't remember, or some call for food poetry. Maybe I'll find one. Anyways, yeah, gotta love food poems, guys. This issue number 88. Remember that. Remember it totally. So yeah, I think that's really nice. I have a couple issues of Rattle at home myself, and if you've never checked out Rattle, give it a read. Yeah. I just wanted to take the time to, share, Rattle Magazine, Rattle Poetry. They've been around for quite some time, since 1995, the year I was born. I had to, just share it. And yeah, so I think the next few episodes, I'm just going to continue to share a couple more, mix between some that are fairly well known to the community and then some new ones and some ones I want to show examples of some maybe out on Substack or have different platforms and setups, besides, sites like this. But yeah, absolutely must say a stellar web design here. Love that. And it's very organized and easy to find everything for sure. So yeah, check out Rattle Poetry when you get a chance. Yeah, the Rattle Foundation does a lot of really great things, I must say. And yeah, so I've would say, don't be discouraged by 1% acceptance rates. You never know, if you submit, who knows, maybe, I know some folks try, submitting to places, week after week after week. They keep trying and trying, and maybe you get an acceptance one day. You never know, so yeah. Brannell has a definitely a very broad range of again, content and features, categories that they do again. So I highly recommend, you check out some of the recent poems, maybe look back at some older ones and see, it's always a good idea again to read past examples of what they've published and to get the gist of that. So yeah, I think again, whether you get accepted into Route or not, the prompts that they do can create some really amazing pieces. You may end up loving too, and that's also a win for you. Getting out of writer's block, these prompt challenges, I feel like they give you something to write about, a point of direction, right? And you can take that and run with it. So that's really cool. So yeah, I definitely haven't, checked out their chapbook series or books myself a bunch, but I definitely will from some time from in the I will definitely sometime. I mean, so yeah, they have a lot of issues, guys. So totally, I think that's very cool. I mean, look at all these guys. That's awesome, and then you can see they have their subscriptions here. You can get a subscription with them and yeah, so I like their site design. It's a very easy to navigate and really beautiful design, I must say. So I love that random poem too. Yeah, so that's all, guys. I'm gonna get a glass of water here, and then we'll move into the next episode. So yeah, if you're enjoying these episodes, feel free at any time to drop a comment or share something if you'd like, wherever you may be listening from. Yeah, I don't think you can do that on an Apple podcast. That just has audio. You don't get the video experience of me sharing my screen and stuff. But in any case, yeah, take care. Have awesome days ahead. And check out Rattle Poetry. Yeah, totally. Bye, guys. And have a wonderful, wonderful, I hope you're having a good summer, August. So the end of summer's coming up here and stuff. So, yeah, I'll do a couple more of these episodes when I get a chance and might take a break a bit after the summer. We'll see. I'll just do these when I can, So again, bye.